Hello there everyone and welcome to the Unit 1 Lesson 4 video. Remember in the Lesson 3 video when I told you that we were going to have a whole separate video covering just the topic of experiments? Well, this is it, okay? So, what exactly is this video going to be about? Well, it's going to be about all experiments, okay? And there's going to be about three major topics that we're going to cover. First, we're going to kind of review the definition for an experiment. Second, we want to go ahead and talk a little bit about scientific modeling. And third, we're going to talk about the common organization or setup for the common experiment. Okay? I'm going to try to go a little bit slower in this video. I know the past couple of videos I've kind of flown right through them. Again, the benefit of these videos is you can pause and rewind and rewatch, so on and so forth. Okay? They may be 10 minutes, but again, you're probably not going to spend 10 minutes alone, okay? You're going to spend more than 10 minutes trying to learn from these videos. I'm going to try to go a little bit slower for this, but I apologize. I want to keep them short. A lot of the stuff we're talking about right now is very conceptual. It's a lot of just like big ideas, concepts, almost philosophies, all right, in a way. So it's very wordy. It can be a little bit difficult to wrap your mind around. Okay, the videos later on in the semester, in the school year, they'll get a little bit more black and white, okay? Figuratively, not literally, because this PowerPoint is going to be very black and white, literally. But anyways, just want to let you know a little bit about that and kind of why we've been going, pretty quickly so far. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So experiments, what are they again? Well, I was adamant in the last video that experiments are procedures and processes used to test your hypothesis. Hypothesis, again, being a testable explanation for the question you're answering. We can sum an experiment up by stating that it is testing of one's hypothesis. Okay? We also noted how experiments can be very short and simple, like a short survey of people, or long and complex, like a 10-year medical study over athletic supplements, or anywhere in between. I also mentioned the term modeling. So we're moving on to topic number 2. What is modeling? It's a term that's becoming more and more popular with the science teaching masses as we continue to move towards our new federal and state science standards. What the heck is it? Is it this little video right here? What do you think? Modeling? Is this a type of modeling? Uh-oh. Whoa! Good save. Whoa! Help her. Oh, nope. She finally bit the dust. So what do you think? Modeling? Is it this type of modeling? Oh, yeah. Didn't make model cars like that when I was a kid. Or is it this type of modeling?
Everybody, okay, listen. I'm thinking of a number, 1 through 10. I want you to think of number, okay?
I'm thinking the number, okay?
Hush. Hush.
Hush.
미쳤어.
미쳤어.
You 많이 미쳤어.
You 많이 미쳤어.
Okay, so what is scientific modeling? Is it one of those three versions of modeling? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. But there is a common trait between all three of those videos, and they all have something in common with scientific modeling. The common trait through all of those videos is that in each situation, someone is trying to create some kind of representation of something. With the runway modeling, a representation of new fashions. With the car modeling, a small little replica, a representation of a larger car. And right here, the modeling of other individuals, of people, mocking. A quick Google search, and we get to see that according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, all right, that scientific modeling is the generation of a physical, conceptual, or mathematical representation of a real phenomenon that is difficult to observe directly. All right, So we make scientific models to represent things in nature that we cannot immediately observe or are difficult to recreate and observe. And there's more. Scientific models are used to explain and predict the behavior of real objects or systems and are used in a variety of scientific disciplines, ranging from physics, chemistry, to ecology and earth sciences. So, in physics, that helps us paint a picture about some things in nature that we cannot easily see or recreate. In physics, we cannot observe a supernova or a star explosion up close or recreate one to actual size. In chemistry, we cannot view an atom with our naked eye. It's way, way, way too small. In ecology, we do not have the manpower or time to closely examine the relationships between organisms and the good or bad factors playing on them. And in earth science, we cannot recreate and immediately study an earthquake to our liking. We have to wait for that to actually happen. So models are created to represent structures and functions of objects created to give representative data. Models are providing a substitute for direct measurement. Okay? So that's a lot of information right there. But the short end of it is models are made to represent things. Models are made to represent things. One little more bit here. Although modeling is a central component of modern science, scientific models are at best approximations of the objects and systems that they represent. They are not exact replicas. Thus, scientists are constantly working to improve and refine models. So similar to what we talked about with science a couple of videos ago, science is always changing. Okay, we never really consider anything to be right or wrong. It's just the best current explanation for natural phenomenon. Scientific models follow the same path, okay? Scientific models follow the same path. They're always trying to change for the better. So, done with 2 of the topics from the video now. Moving on to topic number 3. We've got a definition of an experiment out of the way, and we've talked scientific modeling. So, now we need to get through experimental design. There's 2 major groups that are included when we try to set up the typical experiment. Again, the experiment is designed to see if the testable explanation, the hypothesis, is a valid answer to our overall question. There are 2 parts or groups to an explanation, or an experiment, that must always be addressed and set up properly. They are the control groups and the experimental groups. The experimental group consists of a couple of variables that you may be familiar with. Variables are factors, conditions, or traits that are adjusted and analyzed in this group. So when we're talking variables, we're talking about factors, conditions, traits, things that can or cannot change. The independent variable is the thing that you directly change in order to test your explanation. You are directly manipulating or changing the independent variable to see what will happen as a result. What results or what happens is the data and information that you are looking for to either tell you that your hypothesis is supported or not supported. We'll also label the independent variable as IV. You may hear me call it the ND variable from time to time as well. The DV or dependent variable is the actual data and information that is a result of manipulating the independent variable. Dependent, as in the information it provides you, will all depend on the changes made to the independent variable. Typically, the dependent variables are the data and information you gather during an experiment. The control group is a group that gives us what we like to call, in the science world, baseline data. Okay? The control group is your everyday, common occurrence, nothing out of the ordinary group that we use as a foundation, a base for comparison with the experimental group. The independent variable in the control group would be kept normal or at the most common state that it exists at in nature. Also with the control group, you need to make sure that you do a good job of keeping everything the same. That way we can have an adequate inference based on what has happened when we compare the experimental results to the control results. Usually in an experiment is only testing one independent variable and looking for dependent variables to provide data. So, all the other factors and conditions, all the other variables need to stay the same throughout the experiment in both the experimental and control groups. We call these variables the constants. Okay? If other factors, conditions, or variables were to change throughout, it could change the outcomes of the other variables being tested. So, it is important that all other variables in the experiment remain constant throughout the entire experiment. It's called experimental integrity. Okay? You do not want it to be compromised. Alright? So, you don't want the variables to change, the other variables. Alright? If it's not the independent variable, you don't want it to change, because if it changes, then any of the information that is provided through the experiment is no longer accurate. Alright, that's a wrap for this video. Okay? I hope that you've learned a little bit about scientific modeling and experimental design. This information is important as it will help you to better understand the labs, the activities that we will be doing throughout the year. Okay? You'll be asked to design and set up some of your own labs at some points. You'll need to know if and how you might need to complete some scientific modeling and how to accurately design an experiment to test your hypothesis. Okay? So, basically, how to better understand the experimental design process? By practicing it. Alright? And that's going to be your assignment that goes along with this instructional video. Your assignment will be to complete the Word document that is linked through the Nemaha Valley Science page. It'll be titled something along the lines of like experimental design practice. Okay? Basically, you'll be defining some vocab terms and also trying to complete some experimental design questions. Questions about independent variables, dependent variables, control group, experimental group. If it's a valid experiment, were there any constants not kept the same? Okay? So hopefully you feel comfortable with the three main topics: the general definition for an experiment, scientific modeling, and how an experiment is typically organized. Alright? Thanks a lot for watching. If you have questions, email me, contact me some way. See you later.